So this is the part that people don't always talk about, where you're actually showing up, doing the work live. So that's what I'm doing today. So what I'm doing is I am working on taking a script that we've built together. Well, actually, West wrote most of the script. I retract. West wrote all of the script. If you're new to our channel, this is Steyer Siblings. So I am Dana Michelle, and the gentleman that you see on this channel is my brother, Wesley. You can all call him West. Today, we are working on our AI video. I have the script that West has drafted out, and I'm gonna be using Chat and Gemini to draft the prompts to create the visuals. And then after the visuals are storyboarded out, I'm going to pop them into Flow, and we're gonna actually animate them there. Crisp Pudding, thanks so much for joining. Happy to have you here. So let me give you a brief overview of what it is we're doing. And we're gonna be here every day this week for 1 hour, so you guys can hop on. Feel free to ask questions. I'll look over periodically and respond to your questions as I see them. So thanks so much for being here. Okay, so I was gonna show you what we are looking at initially. So I have, let me flip the camera around here. I have the prompt. Oh, if I can remember how to flip this camera around here. Let's see here. I know there's a way to do it. Let's see, here we go. I got it. So I have my script right here, and I'm gonna take this, we're gonna go scene by scene, and I'm gonna create the prompt on Chat, and then I'm gonna pop it into Gemini, and we're gonna draft it there. So we're gonna flip that camera back around, pop you guys over here. Excellent. Benjamin, I have my puppy down here. Excuse me 1 second. He has decided in case you guys want to see him, let's flip this around here. This is where we're at right now. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get our whole hour in, but this guy down here, this one's over here having a relaxing snooze, but this one's over here a little on the restless side. So we're going to see if we can continue to get our work done. Okay, so back at it over here. And if you guys have any questions about the flow, the work that we're doing here, feel free to pop it in here and ask. Dinger, thank you so much for joining. Happy to have you here. Okay, so we're taking our first scene. And basically West built out the scene by scene. So I'm going to create the Gemini prompt for creating that initial photo. So opening scene is, I'll read it to you guys, camera angle on rooftop looking at the closed roof access door on a high-rise Empire State Building or something similar and iconic. So we're in New York City. We've got our guy that's gonna run out of the door. So we're on the rooftop looking at the door, and we're gonna see our guy run out the door. He's a stockbroker, so he's in a suit, he's running out the door, and then behind him, there's gonna be a bear that's chasing him from up the stairs. So they're gonna come up that escape door and out that door, and he's gonna run past him, and the bear comes through and then stops and then roars loudly in the stockbroker's face. So there's kind of a lot of things happening in this first scene. So this is what we're gonna be working on today. Worry, I'm sure I messed that up. Thank you so much for joining. Chill Vibes, thank you so much for joining. Thanks so much for joining. Okay, first scene. So camera angle on the rooftop. So I have a folder in our Chat GPT that has our prompts and the work that we're doing in here. So I'm going to start a new thread in this folder because the folder knows kind of what it is that we're working on. I'm gonna pop in here our first scene, and then I'm gonna break down the scene into components of it so we can basically design out each individual photo. Okay, so I'll tell you what I'm typing in as I type it. I'm working on our first AI created video, and we're going to build it out scene by scene. Ant, thank you so much for joining. Anthony, they, FW, Bree, 73, thank you so much for joining. Catherine, if any of you guys have questions, feel free to pop the questions in here and let me know if I can bring you up to speed or if you're wondering what it is that we're doing. So for those of you that are joining, I'm taking a script that we have written and I'm writing the prompts to create the visuals for this video. Okay, so far I have in chat, I'm working on our first AI created video and we're going to build it out scene by scene. I'm going to provide you with the first scripted scene. We're going to break it down piece by piece and build out the individual photos for this scene that will ultimately be animated in Flow. And if you haven't been on Flow before, I will show you how that works then too. So thank you so much, Michael, for joining. Allspur, thank you so much for joining. Sebastian, thanks for joining. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop our first scene in here. So for those of you that didn't hear what the scene was, basically we have a stockbroker that's running up the stairs in New York City out the top of the building, and we're gonna see him bust through the doors, and there's gonna be a bear that is following him. So that's our first scene. So I'm giving chat our first scene. Here's the scripted first scene. And then I'm gonna tell it, don't do anything yet. Cindy, thank you so much for joining. Daryl, thank you so much for joining. Keevalicious, thank you so much for joining. Okay, so I've drafted in our, what it is that we're doing. I've given chat, here's the scripted scene, and then I plopped in what it is that we have drafted down here. So I'm gonna say, don't do anything yet. Read through the script and ask me any and all clarification questions, if I can spell clarification correctly, questions you have about this first scene. Okay, and we're gonna see what it says. So there's really nothing to see on screen yet, other than I've put our prompt into chat and I've asked it to read through the scene. Great. So now it says that I've read through the scene carefully, and before we break it down into Flow Gemini image prompts, here's a clarification question. So this is really good because this is where you're going to fine tune your prompts, is when you get into the nitty gritty, and so important because if you don't specify what it is that you want it to do, it's going to assume. And some people will say, okay, well then now it's hallucinating. Well, yes, it can be hallucinating, but also if you don't tell it what it is that you want, it's gonna make it up because it needs to put something in there. So first thing it says, setting an environment. Do you want the rooftop to clearly resemble a New York landmark, example, the Empire State Building, like a recognizable skyline, or just a generic New York City style skyscraper and then background skyline hints? Should the lighting, time of day, excellent question, be morning, midday, sunset, or night? Are we aiming for realistic cinematic tone or a slightly stylized graphic novel aesthetic for this project overall? Excellent questions. It goes on to camera and composition. So we're gonna answer each question as we go through it. And this is really important. I know that this seems like a tedious part of it, and let me actually flip this and show you what I'm looking at so you can see on my screen here how it's showing. So we put in our initial prompt right here, and then it is asking the clarification questions that I asked it to ask, right? So here's the stockbroker character, the bear, the tone and the genre, camera composition, and the lighting and the setting. Super important. Tam, thanks so much for joining. Let's see who else we have on here. Faith, Herrick, Tony, thanks so much for joining. Super to have you guys all here. If anybody has any questions, pop them in there. So, and I'm happy to answer them. If you are just tuning in, what we are doing is I am taking the script that we have drafted for a video, and I'm creating the imagery. Well, first I'm creating the prompts for the imagery that then I will drop into Gemini initially to create the images. So I'm going to storyboard it out into Gemini. Have any of you used Reeve? I haven't used them yet. I was looking into using them, that I have been using Google Gemini and I've really liked it. The layout is a little bit different than say I think it's Reeve, R-E-V-E. That has a little bit more of a storyboarding aspect. So you'll see like the images, and then you can pop in the prompt that you used to create those images at the end. But I'm just using Google Gemini because so far I've really liked what it does. And I have learned how to ask it to make corrections, and it understands it. It may take a few times to actually get the prompt correct, because sometimes it'll get a little confused, but then it goes, I get it. And then it'll give me the right thing that I'm asking for. Sometimes it does require taking a screenshot, circling the specific piece of the image that you're talking about, but that's not that big of a deal. Okay, so we're gonna start answering these questions, and I literally just go down one by one, and I'll do like the first question, I'll do one, and then just whatever the answer is. And sometimes it's a yes, and sometimes it's a no, and sometimes it's a little bit more descriptive. So setting environment, do we want the rooftop to clearly resemble a New York landmark? I'm gonna say yes for this first one. At the end of the day, we might change it to just be a generic New York City building skyscraper, but for funsies, let's just do the Empire State Building. So we're gonna say resemble a New York landmark like the Empire State Building, a recognizable skyline. So literally I'm copying what it has given me in that question, and I'm pasting it in there so that you don't necessarily have to type everything, and I didn't just say yes or no on that one. Should the lighting time of day be morning, midday, sunset, or night? Does anybody have a desire on that one? I would be open to taking a suggestion if you guys have it. While I'm waiting for that, we could go back and change it. I think I'm gonna say, let's do midday. We're gonna do midday on this one. Midday. So for 3, are we aiming for realistic? On this, we are aiming for a realistic cinematic tone. For the whole movie, or for the whole, it's gonna be a short. So we're gonna say, aiming for a realistic cinematic tone, aesthetic for the entire overall project. And for those of you that are new to using chat, this is a silly thing. But when you go to hit enter, if you hold shift and enter, then you can enter down. I know that sounds really, really silly, but if you just hit enter, it's gonna send the prompt. And yes, I've absolutely done that by mistake. No big deal if you do that. So question number 4, camera and composition. So when I say camera angle on the rooftop looking at a closed access door, do I want the camera placed at eye level on the rooftop floor, looking directly at the door, or slightly lower and tilted upward for the dramatic reveal? Really good question on this. So on this one, we're gonna say that we want the camera angle on the rooftop at the closed door. We want it placed at eye level on the rooftop floor. So when the stockbroker, and I'm going to type this. So when stockbroker comes busting out through the door, we see him at his level. Now, after we create this image, if we decide we don't like that look, then that's fine. Then we'll rewrite it and have it at a different angle. Omar, thank you so much for joining. Lisa, thank you so much for joining. Belkis, super happy to have you here. Owen, appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Okay, so let's see, that was 4, here's 5. When the man runs past the camera, do we want the camera to stay static and let him run by in frame, or should we pan and track? We don't want him to pan and track because we're going to see the bear coming out. So we're going to say we want the camera to stay static and let him run by in frame, because we're waiting for the bear to run out after him. Okay. All right, now we're on to the stockbroker character. So for those of you that have just joined, what we are doing is I am taking a script that we have written, and I'm taking the very first scene of that script. I'm drafting out the prompt in chat to create the Gemini prompt to create the visuals for this scene. So literally taking the scene, breaking it down piece by piece, and then we're going to create the prompt and then pop it into Gemini. So as we go through this process, I'll show you my screen of what I'm looking at. At the moment, there's nothing really to see yet. I'm just answering the questions, because when I put it into chat, what I said was ask me any and all clarification questions that you have in order to make sure that you fully understand the task that I'm asking you to do. Okay, so we're on to question number 6. What is his approximate age? And look, great question, right? We need to know what our character looks like. So, approximate age and what he looks like. I would say, is he a young Wall Street type? He's a young Wall Street type, probably in his 30s. He's clean cut, sleek hair, not really a seasoned trader, I think, because in my brain, a seasoned trader would probably not be running from the bear. He'd probably stand up to the bear. So this is going to be a young Wall Street type, 30s, clean cut, sleek hair. That is what our stockbroker looks like. Okay, he's definitely in a suit. Ooh, black, navy, or gray. Tie color preference. Any notable briefcase, suspenders, etc. Ooh, these are great questions. Cake for Self, thank you so much for joining. Miss Davix and Faithful, thank you guys so much for joining. Kim, thank you so much for being here. Omar, super appreciate you hanging out with us. Totally Sloan, thanks so much for being here. I'm gonna take a little sip as I'm doing lots of talking. For those of you that have been here from the beginning, the puppies have settled down, thankfully. And for those of you that don't know what I'm referring to, let me go ahead and show you. He has finally snoozed. This one's been snoozing. Everybody's taking a nap so we can do our live over here. Look at the Chewies, not even being used. Okay. All right, now that we've seen the puppers, everybody's having a nap. This is great for us. Okay, so moving on over here. Let me get this back in place. Ooh, get this out of the way. There we go. Now you guys are stable. I don't want you falling over. Okay, so let's get back to number 7, suit. Okay, so the suit details, let's have him be in a black suit. So black suit with, it's fall time. Let's have an orange tie. Let's have some fun with it with an orange tie. And he is carrying his computer, I think is what we have in the script here. Let's see. In a suit running out the door. Does he have his computer? Let's put his computer. Let's put his laptop in his hand with an orange tie and his laptop in his hand. We might get rid of the laptop in his hand. We'll have to see. Maria, thank you so much for joining. Angie, thanks for being here. Appreciate you guys. All right, on to number 8. Expression, pure panic, comical fear, or cinematic intensity. I'm going to say if you've got a bear chasing you, that's a little bit of a pure panic. So we're going to go ahead and say expression, pure panic in this one. And again, if we draft this image and we're like, ooh, we don't really like that one, then we can go ahead and change the prompt. But for now, we're going to go with pure panic. Should the bear be realistic? I think so. I don't think cartoonish. I think the bear should be realistic. We're on question number 9 of our clarification questions. Size, grizzly bears, scale versus towering. Okay, so I think the grizzly bear needs to be extra big, because if a tiny little bear is chasing you, that's just not funny. Okay, so size of the grizzly bear, big bear. Big bear. That's what we're putting down. All right. And then should the bear's roar be shown with an exaggerated mouth and motion blur for flow or kept grounded and realistic? We are deciding here on the fly. I'm going to say, for this, let's say grounded and realistic. The bear's roar shown with grounded and realism. Or let's just say the bear's roar should be grounded and realistic. Should be grounded and realistic. So for those of you that have just joined, we are creating our script. We've taken a script that we've created. We're drafting the prompt that we're going to drop into Gemini to create the images for this video. Okay, so as we, let's see, tone and genre. So now we're on to the tone and genre. So what we have answered so far, the scene, if you're just tuning in, thank you so much for being here. The scene that we have is we're on the rooftop of a New York skyline building. We see a stockbroker come running out of the door of a, on the high-rise building, and behind him is a bear chasing him. So we are taking that scene, dropping it into chat, and creating the prompt for Google Gemini. Samuel, thank you so much for being here. Melissa, thank you so much for being here. Okay, question number 12, tone and genre. Are we leaning more towards dark humor satire about the stock market, action thriller parody, or a straight cinematic metaphor? I'm gonna say in this one, let's see, leaning more towards, I'm gonna say action thriller parody. I say that because I know what the rest of the script is. You guys will see what the rest of the script is as our week progresses, because we're gonna be showing up here every day of this week, drafting out the prompts for every scene in our video that we're creating, and we have 11 scenes total. So here we are. So we're gonna say we are leaning more towards, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to pop the questions in here. Dan Gaddy, thank you so much for joining. David said, thank you so much for joining. All right, action thriller. We are leaning towards action thriller parody, and we are almost done with all of our questions. For continuity, should all future scenes keep the same color palette and visual realism level that we establish here? That is a really good through point. So during all of your prompts, I'm going to say hi to Cindy here. Hi to Gina. Thank you so much for joining. Macy, thank you so much for joining. Francis. So one of the important things is to create consistency in your Gemini prompts is you need to know what elements are going to be carried over to the next scene, to the next direction. Because if you don't identify what needs to be carried through, it could decide on its own to change an element. So important to note what elements that you want carried through. So yes, for continuity, we're going to say, for continuity, all future scenes should keep the same color palette and visual realism level that we are establishing here. For all future scenes, keep the same color palette and visual realism that we establish here. Okay, so we've answered all the questions that we have asked chat to ask us for clarification. So we're going to go ahead and ask additionally, what else have I missed? Feel free to throw me a curveball regarding your questions for this first scene. Okay, we're going to see what it comes back with. All right, so it has a clear direction of the level of cinematic detail that we're specifying so that it knows exactly what we're going to be doing here. It says here are a few curveball questions production level clarifications. So for those of you that haven't created a video before, it's important to note things like the angle of the camera, the time of day, what kind of movement you want in there. Is it required 110% of the time? No, but if you have a specific vision for what it is that you are trying to create and you don't specify, it will make it up because it's going to put something in there. So you want to specify when you know, okay? So scene continuity, flow prep. So this is on the fly. Wind and debris. Do we want, these are great questions. Wind and debris. Do we want visual rooftop wind effects? So like his tie is flapping, his hair swept back, paper or dust in motion to sell the height and the chaos. Super important question because we are on the rooftop of a New York City skyline building. So yes, we're going to go through each of these questions as well. There's not as many. The first one had 14 questions, I think it had. This one, there's only, I think there's 10, not as many. But again, the more detailed that we give it, the better off it's going to be. So do we want a visual rooftop wind effect? Yes. So for this one, I'm just going to say yes, because we want to sell the height and the chaos. And I'm going to copy and paste, sell the height and the chaos. Yes. All right. Oops, let's not put a question mark there. Okay. Question 2, lighting realism. Since it's midday, would we prefer bright, crisp blue sky, like mid-afternoon clarity, or slightly cinematic haze glare where the sunlight streaks but give a subtle contrast for drama? So being that it's asking for a subtle contrast for drama, I'm going to say let's do the subtle contrast for drama. So lighting realism, we're going to do slightly cinematic haze glare where sunlight streaks give a subtle contrast for drama. All right. Camera focal depth. Should the background city skyline be slightly defocused to keep attention on the door and running action? Yes. So we don't want to just say yes for this one because it does give other options. So what I'm going to say is camera focal depth. Yes. The background city skyline should be slightly defocused to keep attention on the running action. The background city skyline should be, okay, great. Moving on, door design. Are we picturing a metal industrial rooftop door access? Yes. We are picturing a metal industrial rooftop access door. I know I said door access door. Gray steel, push bar, worn paint. Like a real New York City rooftop. Because let's be real, a lot of those rooftops, it's New York City. They've got extreme weathers in summer, they've got extreme weathers in winter. So yes, we are picturing a metal industrial rooftop access door like a real New York City, NYC, high-rise rooftop door. Would be. And I'm saying a little worn from the drastic elements of summers and winters. Again, that's a little detail about the door, but like that does make a difference, right? Hannah, thank you so much for joining. Michael, thank you so much for joining. Celia, Roro, we appreciate you being here, guys. The puppies are actually asleep. Yay. Okay, we're on to bear chasing time. So for those of you that have just joined, what we are doing is we are taking our script that we have, we're working on scene number 1, and we're breaking it down into our prompt for Gemini. So this is just to create this very first scene visual, okay? Okay, so bear chasing. When the bear bursts out, should the door already be wide open? Well, the door will be swinging closed. Okay, so we're gonna say bear chasing time. The door will be swinging closed after, or I'm gonna say since our stockbroker has just run out it. Okay, so the bear will then be bursting out. So it's asking, do you want a progressive reveal sequence? So the door closed, the door cracked open with movement, the man bursting through, and the bear emerging roaring. So we're going to say the man, and I'm putting in parentheses stockbroker, will be busting through the door. The door will start to close behind him, but then slams back open as the bear busts through. There's that. Lynn, thank you so much for joining. Homemade Manda, thanks for being here. Celia, appreciate you. Michael, Tracy, thank you guys so much for being here. All right, moving on to 6. Framing of bear roar. Should the bear be fully visible? When the bear busts through the door, he's going to be fully visible. So when the bear busts through the door, he will be fully visible. All right, and if anybody has questions, feel free to ask any questions in here as well, okay? And I will answer questions as we go. All right. Stockbroker's escape direction. When he runs past the camera, is he running to the left or to the right? So these are very specific questions. So when we see him running, if the door opens this way, I'm going to have him run to the camera's right side. So it would be stage left, but it's to the camera's right side. So stockbroker's escape direction. When he runs past the camera, he is running to, we're going to copy this here. When he runs past the camera, he is running to the camera's, let's see, it would be facing the camera. If the camera is facing the door, camera's right side, but it would be left side as he's running out the door. So he is running to the camera's left side as he's running away from the door. When the bear roars, do you want it to feel seriously threatening, like an action movie chase, or slightly absurd comedic? So we want this to feel really cinematic, so seriously threatening. So for the visual tone, we want this, when the bear roars, we want it to feel seriously threatening, like an action movie. All right, and we are just putting these in here. We want it to feel seriously threatening, like an action movie chase. All right, camera lens style. Should we use a slightly wide angle, like a 24 by 35 millimeter, or 24 to 35 millimeter look, to accentuate motion and rooftop scale, or a cinematic telephoto, like an 85 millimeter, that flattens the scene and makes it feel tighter and more intense? I think for this one, we want it to have a slightly wide angle to accentuate motion and the rooftop scale. Although I might change our mind, because now I'm rethinking, do we want it to be cinematic and telephoto that flattens the scene and makes it feel tighter and intense? I do want the audience to know that we are on a rooftop, so that is an important part of it. So for that reason, I think I'm going to stick with a slightly wide angle action on this one, and if we need to change it, then we'll change it. Estella, thank you so much for being here. Anna, Donna, Jeep Guy, that's a cool handle. Anna, Stephanie, thank you guys so much for being here. Okay, so that is number 9 for our camera angle. And then question number 10 is sound design consideration. So this is going to be applicable later because initially we're just doing the Gemini prompt. So we don't need the sound design application at the moment, but we do want, I am going to say that we would want subtle city noise and then wind layers under the roar and footsteps. So I'm going to add that in. We do want subtle city noise and wind layers under the roar and footsteps, but this will come later when we work on the flow prompt. So I'm just going to tell it that way I've answered its question about asking for the sound effects, which is going to be important, but we don't need it right this moment for the Gemini prompt. Okay, so once we confirm, then we're going to draft the exact image breakdowns and the flow ready prompts in this order. So we're going to establish the rooftop with the closed door, door starting to open, stockbroker bursting through mid-run, bear halfway through the door, bear full roar towards the camera. That's going to be our first scene that we see. So that's going to be at least 5 different images that we're creating for that scene. And what I am going to say is so that we don't get too far ahead of ourselves, I'm going to ask it to pause on the flow ready prompts. And I'm going to say, let's, for the moment, focus on our Gemini prompts. And then after we have those polished, we can come back and do the flow prompts. Okay. So for the moment, let's focus on the Gemini prompts for this first scene. And then after we have those images for the first scene, we'll move on to the flow prompts. I do that because I don't want it to get too far ahead. Excuse me. If it gets too far ahead, it tends to kind of make things up, and then I have to go back and fix things. So I like to take it one step at a time. So we're going to go ahead and enter this in. And for those of you that have just joined, thank you so much for being here. Jim, is that Chef Jen? Thank you so much for being here. Tracy, we are taking our script. So we're doing the first scene of a script for a short that we've written. And I'm creating the Gemini prompts for it. So we broke it down. The very first scene, I asked chat to ask me several questions, ask me any clarification questions that it has in order to complete this task that I have requested it to do. And then I said, after I answered the first set of questions, and then I said, throw me a curveball and ask me some other questions that I didn't think of in answering your first set of questions. And that's when it gave me the second set of questions with even more detail. So the more detail that we have, the finer tuning that we're doing now, the hard work at the beginning is going to make our images that much stronger so that when we go to animate them in Flow, they have a really good look to them. Okay, so this is what we have so far. So chat has created 5 Gemini image prompts for me with this information. It's a realistic, so I'm going to read you the prompts, and as I read them, I'm going to pop them into Flow, so that way we get to see some of this working here. So image 1, we're establishing the rooftop, so we're on the New York City skyline. So the prompt is a realistic cinematic shot of a New York City high-rise rooftop resembling the Empire State Building. It's midday with hazy sunlight, subtle glare streaks. The camera is at eye level, facing a worn gray steel rooftop access door with a push bar and paint weathered from summers and winters. Background is the skyline slightly defocused. Wind sweeps loose papers and dust across the roof. I might actually get rid of the loose papers because we're on a rooftop building of a skyline in New York City. I don't know that there's going to be papers up there. But dust, yeah, I get that. So I'm going to remove the dust. Wind sweeps dust across the roof, hinting at height and motion, and is from a perspective of a 24 to 35 millimeter wide angle perspective. All right, so we're going to take that, and I'm just going to take out the word. So we're going to pop this into Google Gemini. So I always like to start my Gemini prompts with create. So I'll say create. If you guys have done something differently or you have another tip, feel free to drop it in there. But I'm going to say create a, and then I'm going to paste in the rest of it, a realistic cinematic shot of New York City. And I'm just going to remove the papers. Wind sweeps loose papers and dust. How about we say, well, we didn't specify whether it was fall. We're just going to say sweeps dust across the roof. Okay, so this is what we've entered in here. Let me flip this and show you. So we've entered this in here, and we're going to go ahead and hit create, and it's going to start creating. And then I want to show you, I have one puppy dog sleeping here. The other one decided to head outside. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Thank you guys for being here. This is a fun journey. Christina, thanks for joining. Jane, thanks for joining. Linda, another Christina, Jody, super appreciate you guys. Okay, this looks really good. So this is the first of our, let me flip this. Okay, we can see that here. Yes, perfect. Okay, so create a realistic cinematic shot of New York City, and there's the rest of the prompt that's in there. But you can see right there, that's the image. So, and you can see in here, you know, it's a dirty rooftop, so that will animate once we do that there. Okay, so we're gonna flip this back around here, and let's keep going. I'm gonna get this out of the way. There we go. Okay. Oh, the baby's back. Hi. Okay, prompt number 2. So the door starts to open. This is where we're going to say same rooftop, set camera setting an angle. The gray rooftop door opens. So we're going to pop that in here. It's cracking open with a motion blur at its edge. The interior stairwell dimly lit. The sunlight flares through the gap, hinting at movement inside. The wind shifts. The broker's papers scatter. He doesn't have papers. So this is where we're going to fix this prompt. The wind shifts the papers, brokers scattered near the doorway. Oh, we can't sit under there, bud. Oh, we gotta sit over here. Good boy. Here's some toys. Okay, now the baby may be pacified. We'll see him down here. For those of you that are like, who are you talking to? I'm talking to this guy. No human babies here, just fur babies. What are you doing? Okay, back to work. It's like puppy playtime. He thinks all the time. Okay, so wind lifts the broker's paper. We're just going to take this out because the wind is not going to lift the broker's paper scattered near the doorway. So that's an example of, we were describing how windy it is, and it added that in. I didn't say anything in my scripting, in my description, about papers. I just said windy. So that is a perfect example of where you need to be specific. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and hit create, and let's see what this creates. All right, so here's the rooftop. Okay, the door. Now, that's interesting because I actually was thinking that the door would swing the other way, but that's fine. I did think, though, that, I don't know why. I thought the door would swing the other way, but, I mean, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, so there's no reason to change that. If, for whatever reason, it was important, I guess why I thought the door would swing the other way is when I said that he would run to the left side of the camera. What I'm curious of is, did it take it from stage right or stage left? Because when I say left of the camera, what I was thinking was stage left. Whereas it may think I meant actual left side. So we'll have to see when we get there. Tony, thank you so much for being here. Carolyn, is it Carol Ann? Carol Ann? I like that, Carol Ann. Thank you for being here. Robert, thank you so much for being here. Okay, next prompt. So that's the door swinging open. Now we see the stockbroker busting through. So a realistic cinematic rooftop scene. The metal door swings outward as the young Wall Street broker, he's in his 30s, clean cut, sleek hair, black suit, orange tie, because I kind of think it's this time of year. Laptop in hand. See, okay, this is perfect example. In the prompt that we just did where we got rid of the papers, I did say he has his laptop in his hand, but in here, it just threw in papers. So super important to be specific about what it is that you're asking, right? Okay. And then let's pop this in here. Okay, so realistic. We left off at his tie and his hair whip in the wind. The camera remains eye level, 24 to 35 millimeter lens, showing him running left past the camera as the door swings halfway closed behind him. The baby decides to do whatever he wants to do over here. He's only 5 months old, so his attention span sometimes is a little short. Michelle, thanks so much for being here. Amber, super appreciate you. David, thanks for being here. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what we get here. So I added that in. I didn't make any changes to this one. So let's watch and see what we get here. All right, he's a panic stockbroker. All right, so now here's where I'm going to make an adjustment. To me, he looks like he is running back inside. I don't want him running back inside. I want him to be busting out of the door. So that is a change that I'm going to make. And what I'm going to do is sometimes I'll do a couple different things. Sometimes I will take the prompt and Benjamin, we're going to see what this little puppy's doing. What are you doing? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come for your chewy. Come on. Come. Pause for the puppy. Come on. Good boy. Sit. Oh, good boy. You got to have treats on the desk because when you have treats on the desk, the puppy does what you ask him to do. You make a big deal. Yay, you sat down. Good boy. Too sick? Go. Yes, he's a good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah. He's like, is it playtime yet? Okay, so what I'm going to do before we move on to image number 4 out of our 5 that we're creating for this very first scene, I'm going to pause and I'm going to correct this image first. Okay, be a good boy. Don't go chewing on any of that. He likes to lay under the desk and he can get into trouble under the desk. It's nice and cool up against the wall, but sometimes there's problems. So what I'm going to do in this instance, rather than giving it information to make a change in here, I'm going to take a screenshot of this image, pop it into chat, and say, this is a start. I always like to be positive. I'm going to tell it this is for image number 3. For image number 3, this is a start. However, the stockbroker needs to be running out of the door. Right now, he looks like he's running into the stairwell. We need him to have just run up the stairs and bust out of the door. Okay, please adjust the below prompt to reflect this visual. Okay. Oh, we're going to have puppies playing. Okay, so I'm taking that and adding it here down below. Okay, so I've asked it. Lindsay, thank you for joining. Becky, thank you for being here. Matthew, D, Kelly, super appreciate all of you. For those of you that have just joined, what we are working on right now is we have a script that we have created. I'm crafting the prompts to pop into Gemini to create the visuals that we will then animate for our video. So right now we're on our third image. We have our stockbroker that's busting out of the rooftop door, but what was actually generated looks more like he's running into the door. So we need to pause, get him to come out of the door. So I gave, oh good, puppy's chewing. Perfect, on the things he should be chewing. So it says the reference image is great, the base composition, here's your refined prompt. So let's read through. So it's a cinematic rooftop scene. The metal door swings open from the inside as a young Wall Street broker bursts out from the stairwell in a panic run. Yes. Okay, so now 2 options. Option 1, we use the same thread that we've been using. Typically what I like to do is I will use the same thread if it hasn't started hallucinating drastically, meaning started creating whatever it wants. Sometimes while you're using that same thread, it does that. So what I will do then is start a new chat and then prompt it in the new chat. But for right now, because so far this is the only hiccup that we've had, we're going to use the same one. So I'm going to copy here and I'll flip this so that you guys can see what I'm seeing here. So copy, and then I'm going to paste in here what I have just copied and make sure that that is correct. Bursts out from the stairwell. Yes. Okay. And let's see what it creates here. Jeff, thank you for being here. Sunshine. Dr. Papa. Chopper Dave. Kayla, thank you so much for being here. Super appreciate you. Okay, so he did not change. I do like the dust, but this is not, our broker is not in a full panic on the rooftop. He is, but he's still running in. So what that means I'm going to do is come to a new chat here. I'm going to pop it in here and I'm going to try it again. So this sometimes happens that it will not make the change. And oh, now this is completely different. And he is still running inside. Okay, so this means something is not quite right with my prompt. And that's okay. This is a normal thing. It's just, you gotta have the patience to work through it. This is normal for me. Okay, so I do like the visuals of that one. It did add the paper back in. So I actually like the look of the stockbroker better on this one, but I need him to flip directions. And I need to see, okay, so this is what I'm gonna do. Oh, I really liked that one actually. All right, we're gonna change it up here for a slight moment. I am going to ask Gemini to flip his direction so that he looks like he's running towards the edge of the roof instead of into the door. So I'm going to say that. I'm going to say, have the man in the image. And sometimes I just get real rudimentary with the directions that I'm giving, because if I give it, take the stockbroker, sometimes it messes up. So I'm going to start real easy and ask it to flip him around. Have the man that looks like he is running into the stairwell and flip him so that he is running onto the roof and out from the stairs. Okay, very simple. Let's see if that has done the trick to flip our person here. All right, so that you guys can see when I see, let's take a look. Oh, we're Having to do some verification here. Okay. All right, he is still running into the stairs. So I'm gonna say, we're gonna go and say, turn him around. All right, so I'm gonna say, have the man face the other direction. Turn him around. I feel like I probably should have just said, have the man face the other direction, but I added on turn him around. That might have been a mistake. We're gonna see in a second. No, he's still facing the wrong direction. Now I'm gonna try, have him run towards the gargoyle. I think I spelled gargoyle incorrectly. For those of, don't judge. For those of you, let's double check gargoyle. I did. Okay, I got it now. I spelled it with an I instead of a Y. All right, now we're gonna see. Have him run towards the gargoyle. The gargoyle was never originally in my original script, but I added it in here. So let's just see if that works. Hopefully we will get him running. Nope, he is still running. I'm gonna have to work on this one. So sometimes this happens where you just need to continue to work on the prompt to get it to go in the direction that you want. So for the sake of our live here, I do want to get through the rest of this scene and create the other images. You will see when all of this is put together, but I want to get these other images created so that you can see them from the rest of it. So I'm going to go back to the thread that we initially started at. I do really like that one, but I'm going to stick with the same thread. Okay, now we're going to go back to image number 4. So this will be interesting to see the bear bust through the door. So we're going to use the same rooftop and lighting continuity. We're going to copy this here, paste it into here, and we're going to see what it comes up with. So this one is asking for the bear to be in this next scene. Whoa, what an unexpected turn it says. Oh, yay! That looks so good. Okay, so we don't see the man here, which is fine because we don't know what he's running from. That is a great bear. I call that a success. Okay, image number 5, the bear is roaring at the camera. So this one worked really well. So now we're gonna do a realistic cinematic shot of the huge brown bear. I'm gonna say, in parentheses, I'm gonna say same bear. Same, oh, hang on. Baby went under the desk. Puppy dog went under the desk, not human baby. Come here, bud. I know. For those of you that want to see, this is the baby. You're so silly. Yes, thank you for the kisses. Okay, you smell like chew stick. All right, here you go. Sit down. Sit. For those of you that didn't see, I have treats. I have to make sure. Sit. Good boy. Benjamin is only 5 months old, so all the things are good things, right? Good job, Benjamin. This is obviously not part of the prompting. Here, Bruce. Okay. Thanks for letting me take care of that. Okay, chew stick. Here you go, chew stick. Okay, same bear on the New York high-rise rooftop. Okay, let's see what we have here. Ooh, I might have to sneeze. Okay, and this is where we're going to see the bear roar. So this is just, again, the visual. We're not going to... Okay, that kind of looks the same as this. I mean, it's slightly different. So what I think I'm going to do is have him... I want him to be fully outside of the stairwell, standing up big, roar, is what I want. So I need to specify that better. So we're gonna say for image 5, bear roaring towards the camera. I'm gonna show it, here's what was generated. created based on our current prompt. And then Benjamin. Okay, you stay there and chew this. Okay, thanks. Based on our current prompt, realistic. I just thought of, because I put same bear, I wonder if that actually messed it up, because it could have very well took that to mean take the same bear in the same position and make him roar. But what I want to say is that he's fully out, standing up, big bear, you know, roar, that sort of thing. So I'm going to show a visual of what we see, add that in. Here's what was based on our current prompt below. And I'm putting that prompt in below so that we can see what we started with. Let's refine prompt. Sit down. Good boy. Juggling the puppy over here. Good boy. Let's refine the prompt so that the bear is fully outside of the stairwell. The door closes behind him. He stands big and tall. Benjamin, come here. Oh boy. Come. Good boy. Sit down. Good boy. We have to give a few more treats. Let's give a liver treat so he stays. Vicky, thank you so much for being here. Jax Dexter, thanks very much for being here. Hello, kitty. Super appreciate you. Okay. The door closes behind him. He stands big and tall and roars. Please refine the prompt to give this directive. Benjamin, sit. Thank you. It might be playtime after this. Okay, so yes, it's a powerful shot already. Hold please 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Okay, realistic cinematic shot of a massive brown bear standing fully outside the rooftop stairwell, its body completely clear of the door. The heavy metal door has swung shut behind him, showing faint scuffs and dents from impact. I don't know if that part's important, but the bear stands tall and imposing, mid-roar, mouth wide open, teeth and saliva visible, sunlight catching its fur, dust and small debris. Okay, yes, this sounds great. So I'm going to use the same thread because we have the bear. We do like the bear there. We're going to use the same thread, add our updated prompt, and see what we come up with. Okay, so here's our updated prompt. Okay, and we'll see what it says here, or what it comes up with here. So for those of you that have just joined, Jan, Kimmy, the Bronx, Alice, Vicky, thank you so much, guys, for being here. We are crafting yes, there it is. That is excellent. Okay, that is a scary bear. So let's go back and show you. So from the beginning, this was our first scene that we see. So we wanted to see the stairwell door, right? Rooftop. It's swinging open. We have our guide. This is the image we still have to come back to and work on. So we're working on this one. He needs to be coming out of the stairwell, not going into the stairwell. We tried it one other time, still going into the stairwell, so still got to work on that one. We did try it over here. I do like this one a lot better, but again, still going into the door. We need him busting through the door. So we need him to be coming out, not going in. Robert, thank you so much for being here. Emily. So again, I do like the scene on this one, but this needs some more refinement. So I'm gonna tweak that one some more. And then this is we're back to Okay, so here we are. Then our bear comes busting through the door. That's scary. Can you imagine a bear following you up the stairs? I'd be running like there's no tomorrow. And then I wanted him roaring, not roaring enough. So this is what we're going for. So we're going to go from here, bear coming out, bam, and there he is. So that is our first scene. So 5 images, and then what we'll do next is, and I'll show you as we go through the process of this, I'm gonna tweak these a little bit more. I need that guy to be coming out of the door, not running into the door. So coming out, we're gonna get that right. And then we will animate these in Flow. So if any of you guys have any questions about what we've done today, definitely drop them in the comments. I will be posting this video. This live will go away, not go away, but it'll go away until I post it. So please feel free to ask any questions about my process of how I'm creating these prompts. We spent quite a bit of time on the scenes, so we have 11 scenes that we're building out prompts for the visual. So building all these out to create the video. Susan, thank you for being here. Amy Lynn, Susan, thank you for being here. Chantel, thank you so much for being here. Robert, super appreciate you. Yes, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. Put it in the chat and let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow and we will continue and pick this right on up. And let's see, I think, all right, catch you tomorrow.